People seem to really enjoy a mystery, and these haunted houses provide a lot of it. Many things have happened in these homes over the years. People seem to mysteriously snap and do unthinkable things to those they love, though we may never know why their spirits stick around to remind us of those horrific events. So let's jump into the top 5 haunted houses that are actually real, part 2. Coming in at number 5, we have the Lizzie Borden house in Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden was an American woman who became the center of a sensational trial in the United States. In 1892, she was accused of killing her father and stepmother. Her family was well off and lived in the town of Fall River in Massachusetts. Her father had remarried 3 years after Lizzie's mother had died. Lizzie also had an older sister, Emma. They often argued with their father regarding their finances and their stepmother. Lizzie was well liked in the community and spent her days involved with various charity work. Her father was not well liked though. He was known to be stubborn and cruel. On the morning of August 4th, 1892, Mr. Borden left his home for work. Left in the house was Lizzie, the stepmother, and a live-in maid. Her sister was out of town at the time. When he returned from work, it was reported that he sat down in the living room and had a nap. No one knows exactly what happened to Mr. and Mrs. Borden next, but Lizzie gave her version of events. Lizzie claims to have returned home at around 11:15. Upon her return, she found her father brutally attacked on the sofa. Upstairs, his wife's body was found mutilated. It was later confirmed she had died around an hour before her husband. There was little evidence to what had actually happened to the Bordens. Lizzie had suspicious activity that made it seem likely that she was involved. On August 3rd, Lizzie had purchased some poisonous acid. It was also found that she had burned some of her clothing on the stove, and in the days following the murder, the maid was also suspected of the killing. She was seen leaving the home carrying an unexamined parcel in the evening following the murder. No weapon was ever found, though they did suspect the axe that was found in the basement. Lizzie was arrested and tried but was acquitted due to the lack of evidence. It was widely believed she was guilty. She was shunned by her community. She would stay in the family home until she died of old age in 1927. The house is reportedly haunted by both Lizzie's spirit and Mr. and Mrs. Borden. Coming in at number 4, we have Merchant House Museum in New York. The Merchant House is the only 19th century family home that has been preserved. The house was built in 1832 by a wealthy merchant. The merchant Seabury Treadwell raised his family in the home. He had 8 children. The home was never empty as the family constantly grew, with 4 servants, nieces, nephews, cousins, and aunts all staying at the home from time to time. Most of the family lived there until their old age. The youngest daughter, Gertrude, lived there alone for 24 years after the death of her older sister. She was eccentric and became obsessed with holding on to the family home in its original state. The neighborhood around her home was run down. Many of the homes around it were demolished. As you can see today, the home stands alone in its elegance. After she died in 1933, a distant cousin purchased the house to ensure it was not demolished. He turned the home into a museum, a time capsule of what it was like to live in the 19th century. Still has the original possessions from the family. Not everything in the home was idyllic. There are some ghosts that linger in the home, other than those of the family members who refuse to leave even in death. There is a famous story, the thief who tried to steal from the family. It was said he broke in one night while the family slept. He stole a lot of jewels and valuables from the home. He was attempting to make his escape through a hole he had made in one of the weaker walls. As he squeezed through the hole, the wall collapsed on top of him. He did not survive. He was found by the family in the morning. The thief's brother apparently demanded justice. He claimed that the wall should not have been made so poorly. It was the bad quality of the wall that killed his brother. Obviously, this was not seen as a valid concern. The thief's ghost is reported to still be lingering in the home. Luckily, the house is now a museum and not a hotel, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with the ghosts. There have been various sightings. Someone saw one of the daughters sat in the garden. As they walked towards the girls, she disappeared. A man covered in a dust like soot had been seen around the kitchen, believed to be the thief. Many guests feel cold spots around the house. At least the majority of the ghosts are friendly. The Treadwell family are just enjoying their beloved home. Coming in at number 3, we have Villa de Vecchi in Italy. The Villa de Vecchi in Italy was built around 1854. It has the nickname the House of Witches. The house was riddled with tragedies from day one. Count Felix de Vecchi was head of the Italian National Guard. He was considered a decorated hero. He wanted to build a dream home for him and his family. He recruited architect Alessandro Sedoli. It took around 3 years to build the home. Alessandro died a year before the villa was completed. This would come to be seen as the first bad omen. Of course, at the time, it was simply an unfortunate event. Once finished, the home was a great mansion. It was outfitted with all the modern conveniences of the time, including indoor heating. No expense was spared. The home had extensive gardens and promenades. Unfortunately, the family would not be able to enjoy their lives in the idyllic home. Sometime in 1862, the Count returned home from a day's work. He found his wife had been brutally attacked. It was too late to save her. More than that, his daughter had been taken. He had started a lengthy search for his daughter, using his best men to search as far as they were able. The daughter was never found. Later that same year, the staff found the Count in his study. He had taken his own life from the guilt of losing his family. The villa was passed from owner to owner for a few years. By the year 1960, the home would be left permanently uninhabited. The house fell into ruin. The walls have fallen and vandals have destroyed much of the interior. There are now rumors that occultists use the home for rituals. The home is said to be strongly connected to spirits and ghosts. Many entities have been spotted here. If you were to visit the home, you'd be able to sense those who have passed, along with the other spirits who have been called on by rituals. Coming in at number 2, we have Feliz Mansion in Los Angeles. Very little is known about the Feliz Mansion before it was bought by cardiologist Harold Perelson for his family. The family seemed to live there happily until 1959. Harold lived in the home with his wife and 3 children, the oldest named Judy. It was reported that Perelson was in a financial crisis. He had sunk thousands into a medical device he had invented only to have it stolen by a colleague. Things went from bad to tragic for the family on December 6, 1959. It's reported that Harold lost his mind. He woke at around 4:30 a.m. He took a hammer to his wife. He then went to his daughter's room. He tried to do the same thing to Judy, but failed. She managed to escape screaming. She ran to the neighbors where she could call the police. The 2 younger children woke up during the screaming. Harold told them to go back to sleep and that they were having a nightmare. Harold then went back to his study. He took 2 doses of something and 31 pills before lying down. He had passed by the time the police and ambulance arrived on the scene. The house has sat untouched since this happened. The house was purchased by a family, but they chose to leave everything in the house as they found it. They never spent a single night in the home, but came and went with storage. It is rumored that if you go to visit the house, you can still see the Christmas tree in the living room, surrounded by the presents neatly wrapped, as well as a Life magazine on the coffee table along with other signs of the time. And finally, in at number 1, we have Lui Family Mansion in Taiwan. The Lui Family Mansion, or more commonly known as Mingsong Ghost House, is one of the most haunted locations in Taiwan. The house, built in 1929, is situated in the countryside near Chiayi. The home was once a beautiful 3-story, perfect for any family. Looking at the home today, you can see the old charm, but the house is overgrown and a tapestry of trees that have claimed it over time. Louis Rongyu, an affluent merchant and landowner, bought the house for his family. It was rumored that he had started an affair with the maid. This affair went on for years without anyone knowing anything of it. Finally, the maid got tired of being a secret and confronted his wife. Louis Rongyu broke off the affair, choosing his family. The maid was reportedly distraught about what had happened. She jumped from the 2nd-story balcony into the well below. Some say another family member might have pushed her to save them the public embarrassment. After this, the ghost of the maid haunted the family every night, terrorizing them. She would not let them rest. It was not long before the family felt they had to move out, leaving their home behind. They never sold the property, it was simply left to rot. Perhaps they did not want anyone else to be terrorized by the angry spirit they had created. Dark tourists continue to visit the house. There have been various sightings of the ghost since then. People are warned not to spend the night, as this is when she looks for vengeance. Would you risk it? I certainly wouldn't. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? Have you ever stayed in a haunted house? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we'll do a part 3. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, I'll see you later.